There we go. Well, Happy New Year
Happy New Year.
to
Happy New Year, everybody.
Quarkus Insight 75. Been quiet for 3 weeks, but we thought we'll kick off a little bit of the new year, explain a bit about how things are in the what we call the Quarkiverse. So if you are a user of Quarkus, you've been using Quarkiverse for a long time. And you might not know all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So if you want to learn, that this will be one way. And then for those who want to write an extension or already have written one and want to understand how to participate, this will be a good way to get started. But before we get in there, so Alexey, you've been on the Quarkus Insight before, but you can just be quick and say what you're working on, and then we can get to it.
Yeah. Well, we all work on Quarkus, obviously, and I work on the Bootstrap part, on a bit on the DevTools side, and pretty much anything related to the Quarkus platform.
Cool. And and you've been on before talking about how to use the CLI and stuff, which we'll touch on a little bit later.
I think it was all actually related to platforms, the concept and the ecosystem.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, George, you're a new face.
Yeah, it's my first time here.
Who are you?
My name is George Gastaldi. I am a Quarkus core developer, and I work mainly on the DevTools side of Quarkus, and also with the community to promote the Quarkiverse org and their extensions, and that's what we're about to show today.
Yeah, exactly. So, and as always, I can see people are joining and coming in. If you have questions, anything in the Quarkiverse, this is very broad sense today. Put them in chat, and we will try and get to them as soon as possible. In a few seconds, I'm gonna break my rule about me not having slides on Insights. That's because these things are a bit meta, so it's hard to show the exact code for it. And even the code itself will be very boring to talk about. So let me just turn on the screen, and then hopefully you guys can see this. So I'm just gonna do. Oops, you shouldn't. There we go. I'll just explain what we mean about a few things, just so when we get into conversation, it makes a bit more sense. So what we call the Quarkiverse is this big thing of everything out there. So Quarkus has been around for 3 years now, 3 plus. And in there, we had a set of core extensions that we refer normally as Quarkus. But then there were people writing extensions. So, for example, Camel did some, and Cogito did some that was part of the Quarkus releases very early on. But then, for example, there was like someone who wrote a CXF extension that wasn't in the platform. There's Google Cloud. There's like different kind of extensions. Some ended up into the platform that we shipped, and others were like out there in the Quarkiverse. But yeah, the whole thing that me and Alexey and Alexey for the most part, and then George has been working on the last couple of years is to try and get some order in that chaos of extensions. And the result of that order is that all our tools, whether it's the Quarkus CLI, the different IDEs, or in this case, what I'm showing, CoQuakers, is that we have this kind of, let's say, catalog that we can look into and show what's going on. So if you've seen CoQuakers in the past, you have seen that you can go and search, for example, for, let's say I want to search for Hibernate. Then you see there's like Hibernate Validator, Hibernate ORM, etc. Some is showing with a little experimental because it's something that's not fully stable yet. Some has code, which means they have come with a code starts, etc. And then so when you click these different things, you can then generate an app. All this stuff is driven by metadata that we have in these platforms. And until recently, I think, when did we get that live? Was it in November that we had the first time where you could search outside the platform. So until like November, everything you saw in here in CoQuakers was the stuff that was released by the Quarkus team every month or more often. But if you were doing an extension on your own that was not kind of in that platform, you couldn't find it through CoQuakers. And we've had for a long time, we said to people, just make sure that you have certain metadata in your extension, then eventually we will get it. And that time then came just before New Year. So now if you go and search for, I mentioned CXF, I think before, you'll see that says there's none in the platform, but there's one in other. Other just means this is not part of the specific platform you have, and therefore it's listed over there. So you can also have, for example, if you have Uke, it's another one, persistent layer. There's an other, and now I'm trying to think of one that is in both. DWC?
Sentry?
Sentry, is it in both? No.
So what do you mean in both? Like in the platform?
Well, some keyword I can show, but something that's both in platform and something in other.
But an alternative implementation, is that?
No, just some word that has both.
I don't think we have any example. I don't think we have any.
Log. Oh, there we go. Log. You'll see there's 6 in platform, log in JSON, log in GL, console log, etc. And then there's 5 that are not in platform, logging Sentry, for example. So logging Sentry was an example of a unicorn. It started inside the platform, but over the break or in December, we actually took it out. Not because it's a bad thing or like it's bad quality. It's just that logging Sentry is a more standalone thing that we didn't want to break or postpone. If something went wrong by a release, logging Sentry should be able to update on its own. And likewise, Quarkus platform should be able to release without logging Sentry being ready, for example.
So maybe just to clarify what I meant. So if there is an extension, any given extension could be either in the platform or not in the platform, but not both, right? So that's what I mean. So if you enter log, you just get a list of all the log-related extensions, right? So,
yes.
And also maybe it's important to mention that what platform extensions means, what platforms are managed by the BOMs. So if you see extensions in others, it literally means they're not managed by Quarkus BOMs. So they will appear in the project with a specific version and won't be managed by Quarkus BOM or any other Quarkus platform BOM.
Yeah, and then I'll show in a few seconds a diagram that shows the connection between them. But basically, the goal of a platform is to say, hey, if you use any extensions in here, there's been some automated testing to verify that these works together. And if you use the platform, which is the default, the way these apps are generated, you don't have to specify specific versions of your dependencies. Just make the platform use it. And by doing so, it becomes easier for you to upgrade in the future. Whereas if you insist on managing every dependency, well, the life gets harder for you to update. So it's a balance what is up to you. But our goal is to make sure that, hey, if you're choosing let's say the happy path or what we recommend and what the tool will generate, then the next update definitely should be easier. And if you use something from other, this is what Alexey referred to. Yes, they are not managed by the Quarkus platform, therefore it becomes something you have to manually update. But at least you can see them, you can find them. So if someone comes up with a new extension for, I don't know, something new, I don't know, it could be, you at least can be visible in the different tools. Because that's the important part, is that this stuff that CoQuakers does is not just for CoQuakers, it's for everything, whether it's the CLI or the IDE. And then I see Adi here saying, you upgrade a version of Quarkus from 1.10.5 to 2.6.1. We are facing issues in reading the browser from the properties files. So RTD, I don't know what a specific issue is, but 1.10.5 to 2.6 is quite a jump. I would say one of the recommendations we have is to upgrade often rather than rarely, but this is, of course, a common thing that sometimes you can't do it. The best thing I can do to you is to tell you to go back and read all the migration guides, because we do try and document in every migration guide what the steps are to do it.
It really depends how you are doing it. Even reading from input stream, are you looking for it on the class path or something else? So please create an issue. Because it's hard to investigate it right.
Or start a conversation on the GitHub discussions. It sounds like a very specific case you have in this case. Okay. So just to get some of these are a bit simplified, but just to kind of explain how things are connected, right? So in what we call, I call core here, is like the fundamental parts of Quarkus, the core extensions, not the core repository or the core, but those are the ones if you take those away, you can't do anything. So that's basically the Quarkus core version. Then there's a set of extensions, and that means basically any kind of extension. So even an extension inside Quarkus, the main repository, main platform, there's there's for Hibernate, there's for the Panache, there's the reactive messaging, etc. And then there's all the other extensions out there, which are like Creator and Camel is outside the Quarkus repository. And then somewhere else, I know, for example, Vaadin, the front-end framework, they do some Quarkus stuff, which is in a different repository, right? So basically, all extensions out in the world are built on some version of core. And then on top of that, we have platforms. And the platforms is some metadata plus one or more bombs. And the bombs are the ones that we recommend you to use. So the platform bombs is the one we recommend you to use in the Quarkus app. And by default, when you use Quarkus CLI, we will generate this for you. So if you use any of that tool like CoQuakers or the main plugin or Quarkus CLI, that's what they do, is they use those platforms. And then we have a notion of streams. I forgot to mention that, actually. This is a bit more high level. There we go. Let's load it up. You'll see up here, Quarkus, we show 2.6 and 2.5 of streams. That just means we have updates to 2.5, like 2.5.1, 2.5.2, 2.5.3. We didn't want that to be a long list of versions, but basically just say, hey, if you're on 2.5, you should by default use the latest. And we use stream to indicate, okay, what stream are you on in this way. So nothing magical about it, but it's just a concept we use to kind of keep our head straight on how that works. Okay. And then on top of, so all that stuff is something we have inside Quarkus, both as things that are a concept, but they're also actually things we have in code. So we have a whole a client that can operate on these things that we use in the tools. But what's important, what George hopefully will show in a few minutes, is that extensions can come from anywhere. They can come from any GitHub repository or even an internal one if you wanted to. But everything we do in Quarkus is on GitHub. But to publish some of these extensions, you have to do work. You have to get to Maven Central and set it up, which you can do. There's no we're not doing something magical here, but we made a thing called what we call Quarkiverse Hub, which is a GitHub organization that has automated, or at least semi-automated, a lot of these things for you. So if you want to do an extension, the easiest is to submit it in Quarkiverse Hub and become a maintainer. George will talk about that later. But I want to highlight that we've done it to make it simpler, But if you want to make an extension, or for some reason you want to have it in your GitHub repository, you can do that too. No limits there. And then we have this thing called a registry, which is what the tools actually go and contact to figure out which platforms out there, so which streams out there, which platforms out there, which extensions out there. And you can imagine, like, at a given point, things might work nicely. But we also want to make sure that when we move forward, that we don't break things left and right. And for that, we have what we call the Ecosystem CI, which is literally just, again, a semi-automated way where we suddenly, every extension can register and say, hey, every time there's a new build of Quarkus, let me run my test suite. And if my test suite goes right, there's issue marked as solved. And if it goes bad, there's an issue gets as unsolved. And then we can just keep a track of, like, how many things are broken or non-broken in the whole Quarkiverse, not just in the Quarkus platform. Okay, there was a lot of concept, but it was just to get an idea of when we get into the conversation here. So the question is, how do I get an extensions into the Quarkiverse toolchain, like on these tools? And that's a question you can ask yourself, whether you're a user of an extension and you can't find it there, or you're writing one and you want to, how do we get there? Yeah, basically anyone can do it. First, you have to have an extension, either developed somewhere or put it into the Quarkverse hub. Make it available at Maintenance Central. If it's not Maintenance Central, then we don't have it as part of the community Quarkus. Which it was an issue in the past where there was like JCenter and other, but that kind of went away now. So now it's just one place, Maintenance Central. And then you register in this thing called Registry Quarkus.io, which as soon as you just register there, then the tools can look it up. And then we highly, highly recommend people to participate in the CI so you can get automated testing of your extension. And then things happen, and then you have success. And the whole point is that all your extensions that you write can become discoverable and findable through CoQuakers and anything else, where in the past it was just kind of hidden. You have to know how to add them. Okay, so anyway, that was my just quick intro, and I hope that was not too much, but we can get into it in detail later. And then I was hoping that George is your name. Can why don't you show how you go? Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Let me share my screen. Hold on.
There you go.
Can you guys see my screen?
I'll turn it on, and then yes, it is there. You might want to make it a bit bigger, but yeah.
Okay. So one of the questions that we usually get is, how do I get included into the Quarkiverse? Well, the first step is to let us know about it. So the first thing that you need to do, if you have an idea for an extension that would be nice to be in Quarkiverse, you just go ahead and file an issue in the Quarkus repository. That is under the Quarkus.io/Quarkus repository. You go ahead and create a new issue here, and there is an issue type that is called an extension proposal. That will get you an issue template with where you can elaborate about your extension, and this will let us know if that's a good candidate for being part of the Quarkiverse hub. So once we have decided that will be like a good contribution, and we already have like a project lead to maintain this extension, we'll go ahead and create a repository for you under the Quarkiverse org, and this is where your extension will live. The biggest advantage of it is that you have already been set up with publishing to the Maven Central, publishing your the documentation that you will produce inside your extension will already be automatically published under a specific domain in the Quarkiverse. I'll show you in a minute. So yeah, let's go ahead and show how do you get an extension listed here and how you can perform a release. I have an example here with the Quarkus logging sentry. Releasing extensions into the Quarkiverse is as easy as changing a YAML file which says what's the next version and what's the next version would be. So here I have a pull request that that once it's merged, it will automatically create the next version of this extension and will be automatically available in the registry. I'll talk about the registry.
So George, just be clear. So what you're showing here is basically the end result we get into, right? Like once you create an extension and you've done it, this is what you get from it. The easy release from Quarkverse Hub. Right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly. It's important to remind you that you don't necessarily need to be under the Quarkiverse org to be part of the registry. Like if you want to get your extension listed under code Quarkus.io or in the Quarkus CLI, you don't have to be in the Quarkiverse org. You can publish in your own organization if you want. So let me just start by merging this pull request, and this will make the next release available in the Maven repository. And while that happens, I'll show you how do we know about the extensions that we have right now in the registry. Okay, so before we go into that, it's important to mention that we have what we call a registry, which is called the registry Quarkus.io. This is a centralized service that will aggregate every extension, every Quarkus extension that is listed under a catalog. So this service is what our tooling uses to gather information about the extension releases and the platforms that are available for consumption. So this service is maintained by what we call a Quarkus extension catalog. This repository is where you can add your extension. That extension should be already available in Maven Central. But if you go ahead and add your extension here, this will make sure that it's listed in our tooling. So the easiest way to do that is if you just provide a YAML file here in this repository, like let's take for example the CXF, which is already listed. You simply create a YAML file that has the group ID and the artifact ID of your extension, and this repository has a job that will check for new versions in the Maven Central in the central repository, and we automatically populate this file with the versions that will find it, and also the registry. So that means that when you automatically release an extension, we will listen for this release, and we will automatically get it included into the registry, and consequently, it will be automatically listed in your code Quarkus.io, in the code Quarkus.io and in the Quarkus CLI. So
yeah, that's one of the goals we had. Is we trying to. There's some steps we can't automate, but anything we can automate, we will do. So, yeah, that long list of versions you have there is machine generated. You just put the GAV, and as long as you release versions that works, then you're good. And I assume if users, if they for some reason just release something that is bad, that's when they would use the exclude versions to filter the lists, right, George?
yeah, yeah.
Then George, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So okay, what's next? So we can go ahead, like if you're willing to create an extension, it doesn't matter if it will belong to the Quarkverse hub, or if you want to create for yourself, you can use just the Quarkus CLI to do that.
So you need to make that bigger, George.
Oh, sorry.
The YouTube compression will make it basically on. Yes, good.
Okay, let me close this here. So if you go ahead, you can go ahead and create an extension here, and the default structure is automatic. The layout that is chosen when you create an extension will follow the Quarkiverse format. So this extension is ready to be published into the Quarkiverse hub if you want it. If you already have the repository created in the Quarkiverse hub. So let's take a look at the structure here. We have like the deployment and the runtime that is part of a Quarkus extension. We have an integration tests, which is also a good thing for your extension. This is something that belongs specifically to the Quarkiverse, which is the docs. The docs uses an Antora-like format, and well, you can maintain the documentation as part of your code. And the good thing is that it will be automatically published under the Quarkiverse docs, which is in under the Quarkiverse github.io/Quarkiverse docs. This is an aggregated website where you can find all the documentation that is available for the.
Yeah. And by the way, this site is still like it's there, and we use it, refer to it. But it's one of the things I think in 2022 we will get more promoted and more pushed and cleaned up.
Yeah.
Because we have the same thing with now when we move stuff out on platform, we have some docs that are on Quarkus.io and should be here, or but that's hopefully be improving in 2022. But yeah. So is that published automatically from? So if you're on Quarkus Hub, this does a job pushing the docs automatically too, or?
Yeah. So we have, if you're curious on how it works, you can look at the Quarkiverse docs. This is the repository where the magic happens. It has like a timed workflow that is triggered every 6 hours or so that will generate the documentation automatically. So you don't have to worry about it.
Cool.
Okay, so where was I? Okay, so you can see that there should be like a GitHub. Yeah. There is like a GitHub repository which already has the necessary files to work into the necessary workflow files to work into the Quarkiverse, and also the YAML file that we use to release new versions of this project. So yeah, you just, if you have your project deployed into into the Quarkiverse hub, you can just go ahead and change the YAML file to perform a release. That's what we do automatically.
Ah, that's the version file. Okay, got it. Yeah, it's not a workflow; it's just metadata. Got it.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is what I have just done here in the Quarkus logging sentry. If we go ahead into the extension catalog, we should have also another job that checks if the release is already available in Maven Central, and then updates the registry with that information. So if you go ahead here and well, let's just trigger this workflow because we don't want to wait that long. Let's check if the logging sentry extension is already available in Maven Central. So meanwhile, you can also, if you want to use the Quarkus CLI, there are commands here, like the Quarkus registry list. If you want to list the registries that you're already using, here I am using just the community one. So this registry will be automatically picked up by default when you use the Quarkus CLI, and you can also create an app. For instance, you can specify the extensions that you want to use here, or if you just want to, if you want just to list extensions, it's that's not the what's the command again, Alexey? Do you remember here the one that
to list extensions?
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's Quarkus list.
Quarkus list.
Yeah. No.
No, ext list.
Oh, ext list. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So if you go ahead and let's say I want to find everything about, oops. So yeah, so this shows you the extensions that are in the registry. So pretty time should be, yeah, this is pretty time and the version is 0. Yeah, I just, yeah, so if I wanted to use the pretty time, I'll know that the latest version that is available is 0.21. So I go ahead and Quarkus app, Quarkus create app, and I want to use the pretty time. That's the name of the app, X pretty time. If I wanted to use the pretty time, you could go ahead here and look at the POM. You see that pretty time is included with the correct version that is available in the registry. So that's the kind of automation that we have in our CLI right now, in our tooling. That's the same result you get if you generate from code Quarkus.io. So that's really good.
Yeah, so this is an example of when the extension is in the category of other, not in platform, then you will have to manually put the version. But if you look just below, like the Quarkus Arc or Quarkiverse EC, there's no version info.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see if the latest one has been. Oh, we have a new version for the Camunda, but yeah, the Sentry is not added yet. So let's go ahead and try to use this Camunda platform engine. Let me just delete this one. If I go ahead and I want to use Camunda, and it's a registry refresh. If I'm not mistaken. Oh, refresh.
I think it just refresh, yeah.
Refresh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So that's because we don't ping the registry. Was it 24 hours cache we put?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for performance reasons, we just carry the registry once a day.
Yeah.
So if you want to force it, you just pass the refresh flag. So here it is. If we go ahead and see what we have in our POM, you see that the Camunda, the latest version that we have here is the Alpha 3, and that was just released like 4 minutes ago. So that's fine. You're using the latest and the greatest.
Actually, it looks like login Sentry is going to be available like any moment right now, because I could resolve one of the checksums from the Maven repository. So
Awesome.
it's coming.
It's coming. Nice. Let's trigger the job again.
I think that's worth mentioning because actually publishing to Maven Central isn't normally that fast, but I believe Quarkus and Quarkiverse is on the fast servers right now on Maven Central. Yeah.
So it's still working. Let's refresh here. Still running.
Just running. Did you force start it or was it just triggered?
I trigger manually, but yeah, there you go. The Sentry 102 is already available in Central. So if I go ahead, let me delete this and go here, and I said that I want to create. I want this specific.
Yeah, refresh.
And refresh. Let's see what happens.
Then it works. Magic. And by the way, just so you might see that there is like some.
No, it's old.
It's old. Oh.
Yeah.
So right.
Didn't update.
Give it some
yet.
time. But you'll actually see something scroll by that says Snapshot. That's actually our tool grabbing a snapshot of the latest metadata.
But yeah, it looks like, George, you have the debug enabled, right?
Oh, yes.
Usually it's not that verbose.
Yeah, let me just.
There we go. Nicer. Oh, no, not saying nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Let's see if it's updated. Yeah, now it's updated.
1 or 2. Nice.
1 or 2.
And that's the key part. Like here, you could have created a extension, and then by adding it to the registry and having it in Quarkiverse, then all this stuff is automated for you. You just have to bump the version of the product YAML. Nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're curious on how to publish your extension, we have that documented here.
Can you?
Yeah, I'll show how to get there. You go in the Quarkus website. You go ahead and into the guide section. You go ahead and type writing extensions. You pick here the writing your own extension. And if you navigate to the end of the guide, you'll see that you have the section that says how to publish your extension in registry Quarkus.io. So yeah, usually what we will require is that inside your extension you have a Quarkus extension YAML file with the name and description. That is the minimum metadata that we require to be published into the registry. Yeah, and we also require your extension to be published in Maven Central and to be configured to use the Ecosystem CI. So the steps are already set up for you if your extension is part of the Quarkiverse, but they should be provided by you if you're maintaining your extension outside the Quarkiverse org. So once you have the requirements met, you just go ahead into the Quarkus extension catalog that is under this repository, and you just provide a pull request with the YAML file containing the group ID and the artifact ID of your extension, and then our job will pick that up and update the registry, and consequently make that available in the CLI and the code Quarkus.
Cool. Can you show the ecosystem CI just to give an idea?
Oh yeah.
Not a detail, but just so people can get an idea what it actually does.
Right. So the ecosystem CI is here. Is a job that will be run every. I think it's running nightly or on yeah, I think it's a nightly job. So it basically runs the test of your extension or compiles your extension with the latest changes in the Quarkus.io master, the Quarkus.io main branch. So you can get an immediate feedback on if your extension works with the latest changes in the Quarkus main branch or not by using the ecosystem CI. So in Quarkiverse, we have, how do we do that? We have a repository here, in the Quarkiverse org. So here, this is where we get notified about the ecosystem CI changes. So we have a bot that will automatically add a comment to this issue and tell you that the build fails because of something that happened. And then you get if you're the extension lead, the maintainer of your extension, you get assigned to this. You get this issue assigned to you, so you will be notified whenever a change in the Quarkus main branch breaks your extension. So that happens every night, and you get like.
Well, hopefully it doesn't break every night. But, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
The job runs every night. Can you go on status Quarkus.io? Just that's a more visual version of it.
So because we might have like multiple issues, it's hard to track from different repositories. So we have an app that we host in status Quarkus.io, which shows the status of the builds that we have right now. So right now, the only build that is failing is the Quarkus one. The other ones are green, are fine. So,
and mind you, the red one just means either Quarkus hasn't been upgraded to the latest, or somehow Quarkus broke it. Quarkus is fairly new, so I assume it's probably just getting started. But yeah, it's basically we use it to kind of track. We go about do a Quarkus release, and then if it's a lot of red, then we go, okay, we probably broke something we didn't expect to break. Yeah, that's a very nice summary.
Yeah. So so that's the ecosystem CI. If you're interested on how to get your extension as part of the ecosystem CI, you can have a look. Where's the documentation again? Yeah, we have a section here that says how to perform the continuous testing of your extension, how to be part. There is also a video that shows you how the process looks like.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those. It's a funny hack we made because it's a funny balance of making sure in GitHub you can have these workflows that connect to each other, but for them to be connected and have access to secrets. If they are connected, if one can start the other one, they have access to each other's repositories. And we can't require that for every extension, or we don't even want it to be that Quarkus itself have access to all these extensions. So we made this trick where you register, and then we have a certain user who every time a build goes and starts the repository. And that GitHub repository, which could be in the Quarkverse or somewhere else, then gets notified, oh, the Quarkus bot is starring you. Means go look what is the latest versions and build with that. And that allows us to have coordinated CI without exchanging any secrets. It's a bit of a hack, but I hope it's better at some point, but it works nicely. Cool.
Yeah. And if you look at if you generate it, if you go into the workflows, you see that we have the Quarkus snapshot. That's the workflow that will provide that build for you, that integration with the ecosystem CI. So
yeah,
it's all there.
Very nice.
Okay. So do we have any questions?
Nothing yet, but yeah. But no, the idea was we wanted to we have this documented. I sent the link in there. But we also want to have insights where I can turn your screen off if you don't. There we go.
Sorry.
Oh, Alexey, you fell off. Came back in. So no, yeah. The idea was that we wanted to explain these different parts. And I can actually just summarize this again. That what George just showed was, you develop your extension, you made it available in the Maven Central, you register in registry, and are part of the CI. And then every time you do a release, whether it's from Quarkus or from yourself, then it gets cross-tested. And you can do this by hand, and it's documented which steps are necessary. Or you can be in the Quarkus hub, and then at least 3 out of 4 of these things are done for you. Especially all the CI and the published Maven Central is just there for you. So yeah, and you have a lot of birds, George. I guess it stopped raining. I can hear them. Okay, Alexey, I just noticed you went out and back again. Did you miss anything, or anything you want to add?
No. I was on. I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I listened to the whole thing.
Awesome. Yeah. No. Well.
Actually.
And then. Sorry. Go ahead, Alexey.
I mean, if we have time, I can also show something.
We have 2 more minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll share my screen then.
Yeah. Just go ahead. Say Amir is asking how to ping Alexey.
Yeah, I think I already answered.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. Can you see it?
I'll find you and then I'll.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just tiny.
Like this.
More.
Oh my.
More.
Okay.
More. One
Yeah.
more.
I'll move the thing a little bit. Sorry, I cannot do more. Actually, that's the maximum.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I thought that since like we covered the basics, the fundamentals, I thought maybe I could show something in addition. Like we could answer a question: how many extensions we know about? Like what do we expose to the users in our catalog? Because nobody knows actually, right? So for that, we can, that we have this registry service that collects all the information about the extensions that we at least know about, and people want to expose them to the community, right?
Yeah.
So having that registry in place, we can query it and collect extensions and see what they are and how many there are. So um, I'm going to use some kind of DevTools API. It's actually not meant, probably it was not meant to be used as a public API for everybody, but it kind of.
But now you're making it public? Or no?
Well, yeah. Well, why not? Why not? All the DevTools, all our DevTools actually use this API, so it's kind of considered stable. So anyway, I'll use the extension catalog resolver. Resolver has a builder. It's not the most convenient API, but anyway, that's. Then, yeah, there is the method called resolve extension catalogs, and basically that's enough. So if I do this and call it a catalog, that's actually enough. That's what our tools basically do. There are some other options that you can apply, but that's pretty much it. And if I now do println and say catalog get extensions and then the size, that will be it. So if I execute this, I will get, you can still see it. So it's like
number,
664. So yeah, it's pretty high number, but let's now filter things out a little bit, because there are some extensions that kind of, let's say, technical, right? So some kind of SPI or some kind of common extension dependency implemented as an extension, which is not meant to be a direct dependency of an application, something like this, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is, when I do this, like resolve extension catalog without any arguments, it will resolve all the extensions from all the streams that we currently recommend. So if I go to CoQuakers, QuarkusHead.com. Oh, it's very small, of course. Right. So here you can see this is the stream, currently recommended default stream, so 2.6, and I can choose between 2.5 and 2.6, which is what we currently recommend for new projects, because here we create new projects, right? So if you are on 2.3, it still works, and all the dev tools will still work for all the versions. But for creating new projects, this is what we recommend. And this catalog actually merges 2.5 and 2.6, which are currently the streams that we promote. So if I want to limit this to 2.6, I would do platform stream chords from, and then I say 2.6. So this will be more specific. This will be limited to 2.6. Now I'll get slightly less. And if I now filter those extensions that are usually transitive dependencies, but not meant to be as direct dependencies, I'll cheat a little bit. So here I'm iterating through extensions, and then I filter those that appear to be so-called unlisted in the metadata. So what you see on CoQuakers, all those extensions, they are listed, and I'm just filtering out those that are unlisted. And then I can display the size of that list. So what do you think? How many? Nobody has a clue.
348.
No,
487.
485. So at least for today, for 2.6, this is the number of extensions that are available through our tools. That includes platform extensions and Quarkiverse, and those that are not in the Quarkiverse hub, but still registered in the registry.
Yeah.
And also, I actually can use the API to actually create a project from this. Actually, a JBank script, if you noticed, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I was just waiting for you to say so. So it's good.
yeah,
I didn't notice it.
So I just pasted some code. Basically, I'm selecting a project directory. I'm making sure it's empty, and then I'm creating a new Quarkus project with these extensions. So I selected pretty time. It could be anything, right? I could add, I could add, for example, I saw ZNAP in chat, so maybe I'll add a camel extension. I think it's Quarkus cron or something like that should exist. Basically, I execute create project command, which is executed by Quarkus and the CLI and the Maven plugin when we create a new project. Okay, so if I execute this script, and now I go to the directory, I'll need to make it very big. Well, that's the maximum. So if I look at the POM file, this is what I actually created. So there is a pretty time, and there is a camel extension that I selected. And the interesting part also is that with the registry, it opens up the potential for us to check for updates, for example. And this is what we are going to enhance in 2.7 and future versions. For now, in 2.2.2, I think I added a goal, like an experimental goal. So if you are on a not 2.6, but for example, if you're on 2.3 in this project, and let's just downgrade pretty time as well to something. Let's say 1.1. So there was a goal called Quarkus check for bits. If I execute this goal, it will show me what it detected. So these are, first of all, you see a warning saying that's experimental. It may change in any way. So don't rely on this, but if you're curious, you can try. So it shows what it detected, which platform bombs were imported by my application. This is the Quarkus bomb, IO Quarkus platform, and then the camel one, and then the recommended upgrade for my project to 2.6.1, 2.6.1, and then it also detected a pretty time extension, which is not managed by the platform, but still available in the Quarkiverse, and the recommended version for it is currently this. And then there is the Maven plugin as well. So typically, the platform and the Maven plugin are managed by a single property, so it's very, very detailed, but again, that's just a start. So that's pretty much what I also wanted to add.
Yeah, nice angle of it, and that's the whole power of that we have this registry and all these notion of platform and streams, etc. So we can have that in IDE, we can have that in the tools, we have it on the website, but yeah, we can also have crazy API that you can write JVM scripts with, which is good. But even more is that you can do the update and lints. It's one of the things I think we'll do a lot of in 2022 is to improve the tools around all the metadata we have there to help people to upgrade and move forward. Because one of the goals of Quarkus is to not be stuck in old version of things, but help people move forward, but also be able to do changes. And one of the ideas we have is to kind of say, hey, if you upgrade from this version to this one, You might even know what API you have to change if that comes in. So there's a lot of ideas in that area. And I like the fact that your JBang script was faster to create a project than my Quarkus CLI is. So that was a bit funny. But no. So we got a quiet crowd. There was Amir who wanted to know about his input stream. But
yeah, actually, I answered the question. So it's basically, I don't know. It's my answer appears in my chat, but I don't see it in the chat. That
no,
he's on the restream.
He's there. So, if you still need help, go on Zulip or Issue. If you open this, Alexey Loubyansky or Max Anderson or G Gastaldi, I think it's the name.
Just Gastaldi.
Yeah, Gastaldi, yeah. Then we should be there. So cool. Well, anyway, we are straight on the hour. We are actually on time. Next week is gonna be Q&A. So anyone who's listening who wants to make a question, please tweet or Facebook or LinkedIn with a Quarkus Insights tag, and we're gonna pick up those questions. It's the idea next week. See if people are back from vacation. Okay. Well, thank you. I'll turn off this stream and see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.